Hey everyone, and welcome. So, let's just dive right into one of the most complex, most important questions on the world stage right now. What is actually going on with US-China relations? I mean, if you've been paying any attention, you've probably felt it too, right? That things just seem different lately. Well, you're not imagining it. And today, we're going to try and decode what all of this means for the next big chapter of global power.
It all kind of starts with this one simple, almost casual observation you might see scrolling online. But wow, is it a profound one. All that usual noise we've gotten used to from Beijing, the swagger, the saber rattling, it's just gone quiet. And look, in the world of geopolitics, silence is never just silence. It is always a signal. So the big question is, what exactly is it trying to tell us?
All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll explore this great silence. Then we'll look at China's 5-year plan, what they're building in the background. After that, we'll pivot to America's hidden moats. Then, the real asymmetry between these two powers. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about what it even means to win this thing anymore.
Okay, let's jump right into part 1, the great silence. And no, this is not just in your head. The whole Xi information machine, it's gone weirdly, unusually quiet, especially in the West. So, the billion-dollar question is, why?
Well, this silence isn't a sign of weakness. Not at all. It's actually deeply strategic. There are really 4 big reasons for it. First, they're focusing inward, big time, tackling huge domestic problems like massive youth unemployment and that absolutely insane property crisis. Second, they're playing the long game here. They're thinking in decades, not just reacting to whatever's trending on Twitter. Third, their whole play on Taiwan is changing, shifting from loud, overt threats to a much slower, more economic kind of squeeze. And finally, let's be honest, they're totally benefiting from our own chaos, right? We're so distracted by our own wild news cycles, we're not watching them as closely. So here's the absolute key takeaway for this section. This is not a retreat. It is a recalibration. Think of it like this. China feels the walls closing in a little bit, so they're compressing. They're pulling capital back home, they're locking down their strategy, and they are absolutely getting ready for their next big move. It's chess, but it's being played at lightning speed.
And that leads us perfectly into our next section. Because if they're being so quiet on the world stage, what are they actually doing behind the curtain? Well, they're not just sitting on their hands. They're building a whole new playground. And in this one, they get to make all the rules.
And this is not some random haphazard strategy. It is a very clear, very methodical, 5-year plan. Right now in year 1, it's all about going quiet, looking inward, and building their own domestic alternatives for all the critical tech so they don't need to rely on us. Then, over the next couple of years, the plan is to scale all that production up and start really putting the economic squeeze on Taiwan. And by the end of it, years 4 and 5, the goal is to hit a state of true, unshakable resilience.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of their endgame. The goal isn't just about having the world's biggest economy. It's way, way bigger than that. It is to become, and this is a direct quote from the source material, so forgive the language, unfuckable with. What does that actually mean? It means building a completely self-sufficient system that can't be broken by sanctions, by tariffs, or by any other kind of pressure from the outside world. That is their definition of resilience.
But okay, that is just one side of the chessboard, isn't it? Let's pivot and talk about the United States. Because America has its own set of unique and, frankly, often really underestimated advantages. We're going to talk about America's hidden moats and make the case for why sometimes pure, unadulterated chaos can actually beat perfect coordination.
Seriously, you have to think of them as running on 2 completely different operating systems. China's OS is all about coordination. It's top-down, it's centrally planned, it's incredibly efficient at scaling things up. But, and this is so important, their system punishes public failure. America's OS? Well, it's chaos. It's decentralized, it's messy, it's bottom-up. And get this, our system literally funds public failure. I mean, think about venture capital. It's all about betting on 100 crazy ideas, knowing 99 of them will crash and burn, just to find that one idea that changes the entire world. We embrace failure as a path to breakthrough.
And that chaotic system creates these incredibly powerful advantages that are almost impossible to just copy and paste. I mean, America pulls in the world's best, most rebellious talent precisely because it gives them room to mess up and try something new. Our whole culture sees failure not as a disgrace, but as a data point for growth. We've got these insane ecosystem lock-ins, Apple, Google, that are just so hard for people to break out of. And maybe the biggest one of all, we have cultural gravity. The whole world wants to be part of our system, to watch our movies, to listen to our music, to engage with our ideas. That is one powerful moat. So this leads us to a really provocative, almost counterintuitive idea that over the long haul, America's impatient, chaotic genius for breakthroughs will actually beat China's methodical, patient planning. And why? Well, it's simple. You just can't schedule a revolution. You can't put a paradigm shift on a 5-year plan.
Okay, so this brings us to the real asymmetry between these two giants. And to really get it, we're going to use this absolutely brilliant metaphor from our source material: the skinny boxer versus the gym guy.
So after looking at both sides, who actually has the upper hand here? Is it the guy with the perfect plan and the perfect form, or is it the messy, battle-tested veteran who's already been in 1,000 fights?
This metaphor just perfectly nails the difference. China is the gym guy. You know this guy. He looks amazing, perfect form, perfect training regimen, everything is optimized. Looks totally unbeatable on paper, but has never actually been in a real street fight. America is the skinny boxer. Kind of scruffy, might not look as polished, but has been in countless real fights. Our military has more than 20 years of non-stop continuous combat experience. It's not about having a plan for the fight, it's about knowing what to do when you get punched in the mouth and the plan goes right out the window. It's about having an institutional muscle memory for chaos.
It really all comes down to this. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you know how to shoot it, especially when you're under fire. China has built an incredible military machine. There's no doubt about that. But having the shiny new gear is one thing. Having the experience of actually using it in the messy reality of the real world, well, that's something else entirely. And that's not something you can just simulate. It's deep institutional knowledge that, right now, China just doesn't have.
Okay, let's bring this all home with our final section, because this whole competition, it forces us to ask a much bigger question. It forces us to completely redefine what winning even looks like in the 21st century. I promise you, it is not what you think it is.
You see, the old definition of winning was simple. Biggest army, biggest economy, strongest currency. Game over. But the new definition of winning, it's all about resilience. It's about the ability of your entire system to just survive the shocks that are coming. And they are coming. It's damage control dressed up as strategy. Can you handle the next pandemic, the next climate shock, the next massive technological disruption? That's the real test. And when it comes to this new definition, we see two totally different playbooks. China's view of winning is to achieve total self-sufficiency, to build an internal fortress so that nothing can touch them. America's view? It's to remain the global center of gravity, to be the one who sets and enforces the rules of the game. So one endgame is to be unfuckable with internally. The other is to remain dominant externally. They're not even playing the same sport. And so this is really where we land. The real battle here isn't just about economics, and it's not just about the military. It is a fundamental contest between two completely different philosophies of power. On one side, you have China's organized, methodical patience. And on the other, you have America's messy, adaptive, battle-tested chaos.
Ultimately, this all leaves us with one final, really tough and very provocative question. Maybe the most important question isn't who will win. Maybe a better, harder question is this: how long can a country like America stay free, stay open, stay chaotic, while competing head-to-head with a system that doesn't have to be any of those things? How do you compete with a system that has none of those constraints without losing a piece of what you are in the process? And that is really something to think about.